Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at round 4, match number 1. It's going to be Valuence Infinities versus Septeni Raptures. So what I do know is not only have I become very acquainted with the Jet Boy Bangers and very familiar that a couple of those guys who are newest members from them on Septeni Raptures, but based on the history of previous rounds, I mean, Septeni did pretty good last round, for sure. And then whenever you have, who are they? Valuence? Valuence did very well. They got a shutout. So both are coming in looking pretty good. Very excited to see who's going to take the win, or are they going to possibly tie? Not sure. Something that I'm adding for this round, and there's a reason why I low-key waited, was so I could get these bad boys in and test them out on other stuff. This is called a time kettle. Time kettle is an in-ear translating software. So what I have is I have something that I have an iPad that's going to be recording what's happening in the dialogue, and then it's going to feed it into my ear, so I'm able to hear it. Close, about 5 to second delay. And I really mostly got it for 2 reasons. Firstly, it was actually for work for one of the dance studios that I'm at. I got this because it would actually, it would help me be able to teach some of my students a little bit more effectively, because some of them, they do not know English very well. And then second reason is the judges' commentary. They only have a Google Translate Japanese to English translation, and so it's very rough depending on the round that we listen for. So I went ahead and got this, and I've been testing them out, and so far they do a pretty good job in translating. And so we're going to hopefully get a little bit more context behind the judge's perspective without having to learn Japanese 100%. I mean, of course, I think it's still important to learn it, but I am going to be popping that in my ear to take a listen for the judge's feedback, just so I can really understand where they're coming from. So I think without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Nice. Whoa. Hey. Nice. Yeah. Sheesh. Power, man. This track is sick. Nice. 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 They are riding a really great cleanliness right now. Sheesh. Sheesh. Goodness gracious on that. Okay, from the top, here we go. Whew. All right, so from the beginning, just the track itself, like, it is really cool. The BPM shifts and their range in their movement was very clean this time. Love it. Really love the setup here, trying to maintain his spacing in the circle. Notice he teeters a little bit off, going towards the front, out of sight a little bit. But really love the build of energy, dropping it down, now engaging in more partner work on that. I love one of them's a little bit higher, one's a little bit lower. It looks like he's kind of pulling him, even though I know it's not quite the case. But having everybody circle around does feel like we do have a bit of a gap in the spacing. Could just be because of our member there. That part was really cool, bringing them up and down. Then they all walk through. Personal note is that whenever they are surrounding in the frame, if they had him kind of more even in the spacing, regardless of our partner guy coming in, because of the lighting, we wouldn't have seen that. And so it just would feel more properly framed, and there wouldn't be such a gap in that back corner on stage left. So having them go around, love that, bringing it through, trying to stay in the circle. This right here, really nice, rolling it through. I love it. Prepping them here. Here we go. Right there, right into that side flip. God, that was so good. This right here. Look at the top rocks. I love it. Nice cannon effect right here. They went from a 3, a 2, and a 3. Really like that. Dropping it down to the side. Love how they're hitting that boom. Boom. Really nice. Dropping it here, having our feature with the 2, justifying multiple levels. Now, these guys are still over here. Totally understand it. And the camera helps us be able to be guided by what's going on the side of the stage. But whenever you're there and you're looking at the full, if you get a full cam shot the whole time, you may be like, it's feeling a little bit empty. We're not quite framing our features. Just like what we did in the beginning, it was nice that we had a frame of some kind. But some sort of justification of hitting other parts of the music while they're having a feature would be really nice to see, instead of just kind of standing there, because it can affect your complexity score by only having 2 people engage in the polyrhythms of your musicality versus just everybody in some way, shape, or form. Dropping it down. That right here, this was cool. Light is shown in the center. Beautiful. Oh my God. You hear that little whoom, and he took it and he went whoom with that swipe. Woo! That was super sick. He has this moment. That was cool. Everyone's back in a circle. Spacing right here and right here and right here. So it would just be, they're a little too close together, my 3, so I would just have him scoot over just a smidge. Now, because of what they're doing, yes, it's way harder to make sure your spacing's in check, but I really, really like a lot of their choices. And if you notice too, you do tend to dive into more abstract shapes like circles or things that can have an evenness about the symmetry because you have an even number you're operating with. So that's a very interesting note to see here. So far, it's more of a spacing thing than a symmetry thing that we're noticing with them. It's nice and slow. I love the control that he has on this. We have our own little like individual features, which is super nice. I'm just going to move this over just a smidge. There we go. And just having everybody, this is a great example of having everybody frame your feature, not take away from the feature. Lighting, of course, helps with this, but it feels like there's more going on than just one person. Then he speeds it up. God, I love that. And then they turn that into more like a peel or a ripple. This section is so cool. This is a freaking dope track. Nice with the kicks. Love that syncopation with the kicks. Just note though, he's a little bit off center, so that'll be my note to him. Dropping down, great choreography range. Just notice some of the spacing gets a little bit off on stage left. This is freaking street. I love it. Yeah, I love that there. They have a moment and then they go BAM! Right there into the track. Super dope. Dropping it down. They're grabbing each other, really fingerprinting their way through the entire routine. We saw something similar to that earlier, and I really like seeing that. Great on the kicks. Love that. How we chose to do floor work to get them to transition out into a new feature. Love that. Changing the BPM. Love that with the swings of the legs. Bring it down to CC variations. Yes, from a chair freeze. Bringing it up. Whoo! God, those look super dope. Love that. Just the creativity on some of their breaking is just so captivating. I'm still waiting on a Valuence versus Koze 8 Rocks. That's going to be such a sick round. Love the kicks. Yes to those. Love it. Bringing it through. Love the drop on that. Having everybody pick it up and then thread through. And then how they brought it into 2 different groups and they cannoned it. And then having everybody swipe through. Up. Really nice. They all go do 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 do. Love it. Having your feature in the center. He hits it and they all go away. except for your feature in the center. Guess my overall note, some people, they have their feet kind of in the light. So I guess if their point was to have them all disappear, making sure they tuck their feet or make it to where you can't really see them there. But that was a very solid round from them. Like truly on a content side, that's going to be hard to beat in terms of style for sure. Because I do know categories or skill creation, choreo, style, and perfection. That was pretty clean. Style, my God, a wonderful. A lot of their setups, really nice creative variants within a lot of the getting into different freezes was super dope. And their skill is phenom. So very intrigued on what Septeni's going to bring to the table. So let's watch.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a tough sound to catch.
Yeah, that's us. We on.
Hey. Okay. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. All right, no bark. In the pack, I'm hungry. More rings in the case than heads on the plaque. No post on Sundays. I got no strings to hold me down. God is so I bring
Ooh, the range on that was cool.
Bought in, so I skipped the trial. Another one. Run it up. It's got a man.
Hey, that was cool. That was cool. Hey, nice. Nice dive roll. Ooh. So the whole thing is just in concepts of zippers and showing off the green. That's cool. Hey. That's right. Let's go. Yeah, we don't miss. Let's go. Uh-huh. Yep. Hey, love the build up on this. Okay. Love the energy. Love the energy on that. Cool. Nice. Nice. I mean, that was pretty cool. I did enjoy that. However, okay, so audience vote. If we're looking at, I don't know, I mean, Septeni's got a couple people that are in the J-pop scene, so maybe they could pull out an audience vote. But I feel that Valuence, they really brought a lot of performance and a lot of captivation within some of their trick setups were really nice. So for me, there's a chance I think Valuence may take audience for this. But let's go ahead and analyze this bad boy. From the top, we see that zipper. That is such a very interesting and difficult sound to capture. There was nothing prepping us for that. So that was a really great surprise. Definitely complex in terms of execution for that. I love how everybody's being drawn in by how she's pulling on that jacket. Super dope. I like the creativity of this. It reminds me, it's very similarly to Brotherhood. They did a set where it was all about a black hoodie. And it was just, what color does it come in? Black. Like, it was really fun to kind of see the interaction. And for me, I would have wanted to buy that merch, no problem, because they sold it literally for me. And they did really well with that set. So for me, I like seeing gimmicks or really placating off of something like the green or with the zippers. It's super cool to accent and showcase that. So having everybody go down, loving this moment of how she chooses to zip it up is really cool. Now, is this the cleanest routine? Unfortunately, I don't think so. That may cost them this round, at least with some of the judges. I don't know. Remember, it's only one of the 5 categories. I do feel, though, that the judges really value street style. And for me, this may be, you know, how they were choosing to hit some of these fundamentals in the house because it wasn't refined. They may give it a Valuence in the sense of their foundation is kind of second to none. Like, you can't really, it's really hard to beat fundamentally sound crews on this league. And I would say DYM Messengers is a brilliant example of that. They're really difficult to beat because of how street they are. So, but I like how they built this up on the energy. Now the range of their movements, bringing it up, bringing it through. The legato fullness of the range is amazing on this. Bringing it up, kicking it through, and then having this intimacy or like this hold with the tension bleed through. Then everybody's kind of accenting and doing their own thing. Honestly, the first person I was able to focus on was my guy who did the vibrations because of the fringe of his hair. Everyone was kind of, it was a bit sporadic. I'm not quite sure who was hitting what. So that would be my note, is that it wasn't quite as clear as it needed to be for that section in particular. But we did have one guy, he seemed very clear on what sound he was hitting, but the others, it was a bit not quite 100% where we needed to know who was doing what. Bringing it around, the setup in the circles, of course, it's like a semicircle we're hanging out with, and then we have two that look to appear to be splitting center. I don't know if they actually are, but I like how they opened it, have their own little moment, dipping it down and back up. Really love that choice, hitting it through. New feature with new two. They go through. Love the tension there. One of them started a little delayed compared to the other. I don't think it was a syncopation thing. I think it was just, we were just a little bit off on the timing. That swing, that was so good. That little dip with that shoulder initiation was sick. Love that, hitting it up and around. Energy there is super nice to see. Then we bring it up. Level representation. Love having some that are a little bit higher, some are a little bit lower. Really very much enjoy that. Notice that the spacing's just a little bit off. Because of how they set up this partnership, it did feel like we had a little bit more space being entertained right here on stage left. So that would be just my general note, to set up this partnership just a smidgen over, and that's going to make it feel more symmetrical on both sides. Love how you pulled and everybody's jackets got pulled. Now when you do this, you just want to be mindful. I would say one of my features, just take notice his is more linear to the side. I think you need to angle it just slightly up, and then it would look very, very clean there. And then you get ready. I love that part. That it's just nice. It's subtle and effective. Definitely a fan of that. They all go to the back. Love this boom, doo, doo, doo. Nice with the pot that we raise, that they're hitting it up, bringing it through. Love that with the turns. Super fun. There they go. They take it. They go up and down. New feature presented. Love that, bringing it around. Nice little moment happening right there. But two of them are choosing to commit to one side and one the other. Of course, one of them is in our center. For me, it can throw off potential balance issues with that, but we're doing a pretty good job nonetheless. Love the dive roll, but dive roll didn't quite happen 100% over the other individual, so that would be my note, to make sure that it's very clear that you're going over that person and not bailing out by going around them. But you still want to keep the visual. That right now there was really cool. But notice that somebody over on stage left, his arms aren't quite in the place where it needs to be. That would be my general note. Bringing it through. I love that right there, that zoop with the zipper. Then everybody's unzipped it, and then they have this moment. Love that. That was fun. Some of them really committed with the head. Some kind of kept them more chill. So that would be my general note to that. I love this here with the vibration. Super dope with the build up. That was nice. Nice little surprise moment right here. Then having everybody kind of branch away. Really fun on the formation side. And having it branch, still holding it up, really nice to see. But he's not the only one that's holding his arm up. I would say this individual is as well. Super cool, boom, probably one of the coolest sections of the whole thing. Love the framing around. It's definitely feeling more of like a 360 kind of position, which is really nice. Love the branch around, but some of them are choosing to add something a little extra, but that was our feature, so that makes sense. Everybody dropping down. Then they zipped it right back up. I love it. So I love the gimmick for sure. Hitting it through. We don't miss. Love that. And everybody goes. Having the feature trigger everybody else to drop was cool. New feature. Great lighting choice. Nice moment they're bringing it in with the wave. I love that moment. They all slowly come down. And then they all slowly come back up. Super dope. Joon. Really like that. Nice slow-mo and that energy right there. Cool. Here we go. They bring it up. Starting house. Da-da-da-da-da. Love this. Super cool, but notice their range was a little bit off. Yes, presentation was great, but you had to factor in, because it's a choreography competition. It's not just freestyle. To do the same thing, we're going to really want to see some synchronicity in play here in order for us to really appreciate what you're doing at the degree of performance that you're doing it at. So here, one of them, I would say my guy on stage left felt a little bit more reserved in that. My guy on stage right really was popping off on the energy. If they were both doing the exact same thing, very different conversation. So it was just slightly off there. Having my two that were down on ground level, really nice to see their syncopation with their breaking. Super enjoyable. Going right into a 4-point add-on, then having all 8 join in, really fun on the transitions. And then having a nice little moment between our ladies. bringing it through to the front, throwing the energy. Really like that build, super enjoyable. Really nice on the kick out, super fun. Having one feature in the center, everybody turns to drop. Love that ding, 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 ding. I really like that transition using that green. But not everybody unzipped it to the same degree, so it doesn't feel like we're seeing the same amount of green on everybody, but also that could be because of the size of the jacket and the size of the shirt, as well as the individual. You know, because if somebody's taller and they're naturally going to be a little bit bigger, their shirt may be a little bit bigger than somebody else's who's more petite. And so having the degree of how unzipped you want your jacket to be, that can determine those little details to showcase how much green you want to show your audience. Hitting it through. I like that choice. Having it all through, but notice not everybody's making the exact same choices. Some are looking up. Very individualized, which I do like, but because on their unison sections they weren't quite as crispy clean as they needed to be in order for us to appreciate the individual moments, that may have, you know, they may have fallen just a smidgen short, but it's still really, really enjoyable. Sliding it through, boom, boom, boom. Syncopation is freaking sick. I love it. Building up from the back feature, building it up. Love the lighting choice on this part. Swinging, ding, 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 ding. Pulling it through, and then they all melt to finish. That was a really fun round. Now, who do I think may have taken it? My gut tells me Valuence Infinities took the round from the judges. Audience Septeni could get it. But for me, if I were to vote, the two, Valuence definitely was definitely captivating on a performance front. Both had BPM shifts, but Valuence carried it in their transitions more effectively. They were cleaner overall, and their style representation is second to none. So for me, I do expect Valuence to win by a large margin. I could be wrong, though. Of course, remember, this is a whole new round of judges, and their justification is different here. So if I were to look, I would say Valuence should get the cleanliness score for sure. That's the perfection. Creation, I think it could swing either. I like Septeni's concepts a lot. So if that's what creation is, they could take that. Choreography, I think it can swing either. I like both choreography. Style, I think Valuence took, and skill, I think Valuence had a lot of tricky stuff. Pun intended, but pun not intended. They do have some pretty complex setups, and they did a great job of handling it well and cleanly. So it's definitely one of their cleaner sets. So I'm excited for the results of this. I'm going to go ahead and get everything all squared away so we can watch it. Let's go ahead and watch these judges. I like that judge. He's cool. I like him. Here we go. So, like I said, I think audience can swing either, of course, because the popularity of Septeni's members. I think Valuence took this, though. Took this match.
Valuence Infinities versus Septeni Raptures. Audience Leto, Judge Summer Blue, Judge Ketsu Leto, Judge Shinshu Leto, Judge Katsuya Leto, Judge Ryu Leto.
I was wrong. Okay.
僕はですね、インフィニティに入れたんです。インフィニティの方はガチブレイキンというか、ストライクのブレイキンで来てて、割とルーティンも入れながら、ブレイキンなんで個人技を間に入れてくるという。でもただ見せ方としては割と王道な、そんなに新しい手法を使うっていうことではなく、王道で個々の実力で見せていくっていうスタイル。ラプチャーズの方は 200% アイゾレっていうことで、始まり方とかね、すごくラプチャーズっぽくてかっこよくて、で間のその黄色いなんか蛍光の靴下とかをちょっと見せたりとか、ああいう小技がすごく効いてて、僕はちょっとおしゃれでいいなと思いました。インフィニティの方が良かったというよりは、ラプチャーズの 200% アイゾレって言ってるアイゾレが全然見えてこなかった。ジャケット着てて中にインナーに蛍光の黄色のシャツ着て、たまに脱いで夢を動かしたりするんだけど、また着ちゃうみたいな。いつ脱ぐんだろうっていうのにちょっと引っかかっちゃって、アイゾレ 200% だったらやっぱり脱いでちゃんとアイゾレで見せてほしかったなっていう。そこをなんかうまく小出しにして小出しで終わっちゃったなっていう感じがしたので、だったらアイゾレ、小出しアイゾレっていうテーマがいいと思うし、っていうのにちょっと引っかかってしまったので、実力のあるチームだからがっつりアイゾレで見せた時にはそれはそれですごいものを見せてくれると思うので、そういう意味では次回期待してます。ラプチャーズ合間のその全体のルーティンとかもめちゃくちゃ良くて良かったし、個々の実力も高いので、本当に期待してます。でインフィニティの方はそうは言っても 一人一人の実力がすごく高いので、そういった意味で僅差でインフィニティの勝ちになりました。
Let me see. What did he score again? He said it was like 240. He said so for skill into Valuance, creation and choreo into Septeni, and he gave them style and so honestly, this Judge Sam, I would have potentially scored it that way as well. So it's just so interesting. I'm very curious what everybody else had to say. I mean, in general, what it was on the translation was pretty close. He was talking about this device, sure. He's talking about it's pretty doesn't really use new methods, shows off. He said Raptures doesn't really use new methods, but rather shows off their individual abilities in a traditional way. He really emphasized going 200%. Little tricks showing off the yellow socks. It was really effective. And it said here, translation-wise, I just wanted to keep him in check. I don't quite know to that extent what he's referring to, and that means in that case, theme is good. They're a talented team. This should be something amazing. Yeah, so it's a 1-point difference. We said for Apple, each and every one of them is very high level. It was close. So like it was a close battle for him. But so far for me, if you're looking at like how I would have scored it, I mean, I'm not going to go off of the points on this. I don't understand the point structure nearly as much. But I would have, when it came to categories, I mean, that makes sense to me. And this would reflect more of like what my categories would look like. So very intrigued on what everybody else is about to say. Here we go. Let me stop hers. Sheesh. 9? A 9 on perfection? That was not the cleanest thing they've done, Cats girl.
まずの方に入れさせていただきました。まずインフィニティーズなんですけれども、テーマが破壊ということで、作品全体通してその忠実にすごくその破壊っていうものを表現されていたなっていう印象だったんですよね。でやっぱり一人一人のスキルは際立ってましたし、忠実に表現しているっていうところも良かったんですけれども、もう一つ破壊感、その表情だったりとかぶち壊す感じっていうのが、そのルーティンだったり一個一個の動きの中でこうファイティングしたりとか、こうぶっ壊れたみたいな印象はあったんですけれども、もっと奥底のものがもう破壊されて壊れてしまってとかっていうその表現がもう一つそこを期待してしまったなっていうのがありました。はい。ラプチャーズの方なんですが 200% アイソレということで、そのアイソレを見せてくるのかっていうところで、見始まって、そのネイビーの上下のセットアップから覗くネオンカラーのインナーがすごく効果的で、アイソレが見えやすいところ、もうちょっとそれを見たかったなっていうのもあったんですけど、全体の構成だったりとか、その衣装を含めたそのこうクリエーションというか、そこの斬新さをとても感じて、全体的な作品の完成度として、私は1個ラプチャーズの方が上だったかなっていう印象だったので、私はラプチャーズの方に入れさせていただきました。
I mean, what they measure in terms of like perfection, it must not mean cleanliness. I mean, because anyway, talking about for this one, well, I would say her translation wasn't really that effective on here, so we both saw what it was on this. 200% isolating. I was wondering if it would show. Oh, so what she said basically from the previous match, or the previous group, so it was Valuance, that she wanted to see another. It was I think too one-dimensional, so she wanted to see a little bit more depth behind it. She was expecting another expression of movement, would be my assumption. Maybe it was a bit too disconnected with all the features, so which I could totally understand. The neon color set from the top and bottom setup's very effective. There are things that were easy to see, and I wanted to see a little more of, but the overall composition and the creation, including the costumes, I think it was very important to have the novelty in there as well. So for her, she uses novelty as a determining factor of separation for her, which to me, you guys already know how I feel. Concept should not be a justifiable, like, that should not be your determining factor on who wins over somebody else. But in a competition with this high caliber type of performances, sometimes they need something like that in order to make it a little bit easier to judge sometimes. In terms of the overall level of completion of the work, I had the impression that Raptures was better. So she thought that Raptures had a more complete concept, which I mean, if you're going off a concept, yes, I can understand, like, they had a really nice gimmick, but when you look at the other facets, when it comes to style representation, the difficulty of the style represented, I'd say Valuence took that. Perfection, I don't think Raptures should have scored as high as she gave him. Like, just calling it what it is, that was probably about a 7 on the scale they've been giving, and she gave him a 9. So, and then I know we have one of our judges coming up that he's like a Mr. Give a 10 often, and I'm like, yo. So I am curious. I am surprised that Valuence scored as low as they have been, because some of their style stuff, for at least maybe with the judges from the last round, they were very nice to DYM messengers. Maybe because they're new, but it shouldn't matter if they're new, because I'm just going off of what they were valuing from the last round, and so far that just got thrown out the window. So who knows what we're looking at now. All right, Shinichi loves to give 10s. Oh my god, dude, why'd you give him a 10? It was not a 10 on perfection, my guy. Oh man, sheesh. He tied it. Okay, so technically their points were the same, but they go off of items. So who took the item? Oof. Wow. Okay, so he gave an 8 for skill from Septeni. 10 on perfection. Style, I see, look, skill and style. Yeah, for sure. Valuance should totally get that. But creation and choreo, 10 on the choreography. I mean, here's the thing. I know I sound like such a cynic, but also this is an adjudicated competition. Like, why? This is not. It's not like no art gallery, right? Where everything is beautiful and everything's perfect. Shinichi, my guy. Okay, let's listen in to what he has to say.
僕はラプチャーズの方に入れました。まず先行インフィニティだったんですけど、ブレイキンメインで今回スタイルで攻めてきて、でもブレイクと立ち踊りのこうバランス感がとっても良くて、立ちも下も両方踊れるのがすごい良かったバランス良くて、ソロと2人とかの構成も組み合わせもすごいバランス良くて、自分たちのスタイルを変えずに破壊というテーマをやったったなっていう印象で、でもすごい良かったですけどね。なんかみんなバリエンスすっかりもうねステージ慣れてきて、なんかリラックスして出せるようになってきて、対するラプチャーズなんですけど、中に来た抵抗のあれがすごい効いてて、脱ぐのかなって思ったら脱がなかったけど、最後までラプチャーズのスタイルをうまく使ってチーム力があるショーだったと思います。結構タイトで、ラプチャーズは多分使わない方がいいのかもしれないね。チャック開けてみんなでシャツやるし、長いなと思うんだけど、でも後半まで最後までなんかこうラプチャーズのいい感じでやりきった内容だったと思います。バリエンスとラプチャーズ個の対決とチームの対決っていう結構極端なね真逆のスタイルの対決だったけど、今回はラプチャーズの方がチーム力が上回っていたので、今回僕はラプチャーズの方に入れました。
Okay. He's pretty much saying it's leading original. They've been attacking it mostly by breaking. The balance between the break and the dance was really good. It's amazing how you can dance both with the feeling of having, 8 people You can do solo or with two people. There's a great balance in the combination. I got the impression that they continued with the theme of destruction without changing their style, but that was good. As I've gotten used to the stage, I've become more relaxed and able to perform, and compared to Raptures, I've heard that there's less resistance here and there. I thought it was okay, but it didn't move until the end. Then I think that's how you fought as well and have team skills. Might be better to let them... So everyone is always jumping down. I think it's scary. So the end, I felt like something was going to happen until the end. Oh, so I'm assuming he thought there was more exciting coming from Septeni Rapture. Like there was always something. Like how they built up the ending was really captivating to him. It was a rather extreme showdown between both of them with the individual and the team. But well, this time the Raptures had a much stronger team. Well, technically not, because you gave him a same score. And he said he went with Raptures. Okay, cool. Now, Katsuya... So far, based on some of how he judges, I vibe on justification side. I tend to vibe very similarly to him. So I am very, very intrigued on his feedback here. I'm actually, what's nice is because this is, I'm able to auditorily hear what they're saying, but because of the translation, I'll probably just let this record and then I'll go back and audit it after taking a look at the Google Translate. But let's go ahead and see what Katsuya has to say and look at his scorecard here. Okay, so he, once again, he also gave skill and style, for sure. It's interesting. It's interesting that all of them are like, they were cleaner. Because maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was probably because of my angles I were given. I'm not sure, but maybe, if you look at their complexity, they probably had some more complexity and a higher range of movements, which makes it feel like it was harder to make clean. Maybe, but then wouldn't that be a different category that we're trying to justify? I'm not entirely sure.
僕はセプテニさんの方に今日言いました。まずバリエンスインフィニティーズさんなんですけど、ショーの構成自体はすごいシンプルな印象で、その中で個々のスキルだったりとか、個じゃなくても2人とか3人とか、その少人数での、自分たちの見せ場っていうのをちょくちょく配置しながら、自分たちの特性を生かしながら、店に行ってたような印象があります。個人的にはインフィニティーズの量が今回のショーのすごいキーだったと思ってて、特に中盤というか真ん中ぐらいでやってた、ブレーキにスイッチっていうんですけど、逆回りから始めて自分の方向に戻るっていうソロもめちゃめちゃハイスキルなことやってたし、前半かな、ニコラスの808、808っていうベースの音に合わせてこうスライドからの止まるっていうところとかも音とすごいマッチしてて、特に、それが印象的でした。中でも、量が一番今回はキーだったかなという印象です。で、対してセプテーニさんなんですけど、まず、アイデアが素晴らしいなと思って、ネイビーのセットアップの下に蛍光グリーンというかライトグリーンというかのインナーを着て、でファスナーだったりとか、裾を上げ下げしてそのライトグリーンが出てるとこのアイソレーションを基本的にこう進めていくっていうコンセプトだったと思うんですけど、そういうアイデアを見たことがなかったんで、個人的にはクリエーションっていう部分でそこがすごい評価になった部分であります。ただセプテンさんの方で言うと、そのアイデアめっちゃ素晴らしかったんですけど、そのテーマが 200% アイソレーションっていう部分で、どっちかっていうとそういうアイデアは見えたんですけど、もっとアイソレーションだけで見せる部分があっても面白かったんじゃないかなって思います。どっちかっていうとアイソレを使いながらも体全体使って動くっていう印象があるので、そこがなんかもうちょっと見たかったなっていうところではあります。この、勝ち負け勝負でセプテンさんのアイデアでクリエーションの差をまずつけて、バリエンスさんの方で惜しかったなと思うところなんですけど、途中のソロでちょっと失敗しちゃったのかなっていうのがちょっと目立ってしまった部分があったのと、そのソロに入る直前ぐらいだと思うんですけど、全員こう座ってる状態の中でみんな止まってるんだけど、その一人だけちょっとこう動いてしまった時があって、そこがちょっとみんな止まってるのにそこがパッて動いたことによってそこ目立っちゃったなっていう、あんまり良くない目立ちなんですけど、でそこで結構完成度っていうのもちょっとセプテーニさんよりかは1点下げた形になりました。という点数の付け方を僕はして、このファーストマッチに関してはセプテーニラプチャーズさんの方の、勝ち にしました。
Okay, so I agree with him though. Like if they're saying 200% isolation, it's all I saw in the name of the song was called the letter, like 2 letter P's, but probably the name of the concept. So they really care about the concept. Also, I know this too. Let's say this too. I am not watching how they talk through the concepts of their pieces before they go on stage. And a lot of the judges are basing their feedback off of how they're coming across with their presentation of the routine. I am not. I am just looking at the routine from a lens of what's the formation look like, what does the staging look like, the spacing, the levels, the difficulty in choreography, the musicality, things like that. So there is, we got to call it what it is. There's a little bit of subjectiveness in how a judge listens to the concept being presented, sees the routine and go, did they do that? I guess that's one of the criterias that I may have been misrepresenting this whole time. So, and to each their own, that's fine. I'm just not used to that, and I may not be able to really look at these in that light because I don't watch the live stream because it's not subbed whatsoever. I mean, I could try to use these, but it's still not as accurate as I wish, but it's way better than me just trying to figure it out all by myself, right? So, there is a note that he made too. He said that he had never seen a concept like that before, but then remember when I was giving feedback, that immediately reminded me of a concept I had seen before. So for me, that didn't look like overly creative, but I liked the concept. Like it vibed really well, but it wasn't this like off tier. I've never seen people use their clothes to justify a set before, you know, and then having them pull up the socks, it reminded me of a set that I adjudicated or I shadow judged at HHI with they pulled up their socks. It was a group from Japan, funnily enough, and their socks were striped in reference to Don Campbell lock. So I've seen like separate ideas put together, and this was like a hybrid idea for me, so I can understand for him that may have been astronomically creative. For me, that's like an above average creation because it's a hybrid and it's still something that I didn't quite see that variant before, but it's not this brand new thing for me. Hence the importance of concept can totally influence how somebody can score something if based on what your perspective of what you're exposed to is, you know. So he said, the structure of the show itself seems to be very simple, and he's talking about Valuence Infinity. It's about the individual skills, and even if it's not about individuals, it's a small number of people, like 2 or 3 people. I get the impression that they set out their own highlights and making use of their own characteristics. Personally, I think the amount of infinities was the key to this performance, especially in the middle, or rather in the middle. Well, I'm talking about the switching to the breaking, but that solo where you start in the opposite direction and then return to the own direction was really high skilled. So I guess it's the first half. It's how it slices up in time with the bass sound. So he's talking about the musicality choices. For him, I'd say there wasn't enough people justifying the different features in play, which I completely understand and I agree. I can't agree with that. And I mentioned that. That's why it's important. You don't want people to be stagnant for too long when you only have your features and you're not properly framing them the whole time. So I can understand how certain categories were lost by Valuence because they chose to feature everybody more individualistically versus collectively. So I understand that. More matches the year before and was impressive. Was that on the other hand, Septeni's idea was really great. Underneath the navy setup is a Trinity green, lime green inner layer with a zipper at the top and the color coming out by raising and lowering the hem. I think it was basically the concept of how to proceed with this isolation, and I've never seen an idea like that before. Well, personally, that's the part of the creation that got me the most. However, the idea was wonderful, but the theme was 200% isolation. So it's anything that's the idea I got. It would have been interesting if there was a part that showed only isolation. I agree with that. So I didn't really know the name of the concept or the description of it. So a lot of its justification stems from they're claiming this is our concept, but they only showcased half of it. So 200% I understand they showcased that 200%, I'm assuming, fullness of energy. And then they did show isolation as a form of polyrhythm, but they didn't quite showcase it in isolation. So I can totally vibe with that. Even though I get the impression it was used for the entire body. That part was a bit, a win-lose, the idea to create a difference, and I feel Valuence was a bit of a disappointment. I think they made a little mistake in the middle of the solo. There's one part that stood out a little. I think it was right before they went into the solo while everybody was sitting, everyone stopped. There was a time when one person moved a little, and even though everyone else was standing still, that part suddenly moved, making that part stand out. So in terms of completeness, it was a little bit lower than Septeni Raptures. As for the difference in scores for this first match, I chose Raptures values within the settings. Okay, what did Rue say? Rue can be a little brutal on her scoring. Okay. Oh, that's a big old gap. Bless it. Bless it.
私はセプテニーラプチャーズに入れさせていただきました。バリエンス・インフィニティーズさんはところどころで表現されている破壊というテーマがこのチームのスタイルとしっかりマッチしていて良かったなと感じました。音が単調で展開はあったものの直線的に見えてしまったのが少し間延びにつながってしまったのかなと思っています。一体感というものがより強くなるとより、このチームの良さも生えてくると思うので、より一体感がさらに増すともっともっと良くなるんじゃないかなと思っています。セプテニーラプチャーズさんは 200% アイソレというコミカルに来るのかなと思うタイトルに対してしっかり攻め込んだ作品で勝ちを意識している作品だったかなと感じました。アイソレーションというダンスには必要不可欠なタイトルだったんですけど、手と足、胸の3箇所が主に使われてたように感じたんですけど、アイソレーションってダンスにはすごい必要不可欠な部分でもあるので、もう少し正直見たかったかなっていうのが正直な感想で、少し物足りなさを感じてしまいました。ですが全体的に構成の流れなどが見やすくて、あえて流れを止めるような工夫された音に、しっかり一体感で見せる構成っていうのがすごく映えていたので、その点一体感もとても強くて、構成もしっかり作り込まれてたっていう点でセプテニーラプチャーズに入れさせていただきました。
Okay, so for that part, they said that while the theme of distraction was expressed, it matched well. Although the sound was monotonous and there was development, it seemed linear, which I think led to a bit of disappointment, which I totally understand. I think that a sense of unity becomes stronger. The strengths of the teams will also grow. I think the sense of, cool. Raptures was 200 Isolation, which I thought would be a comical title, but I felt that the work it firmly attacked in this way. She also gave the same note that Katsuya gave, which was, in which there was more of an isolation presence. But look, you notice that it says the letter P. I don't know. I had no idea what 200% isolation came from. I'm assuming it came from the promo that played before they were announced to come on stage. Because I know that's the thing. Because I just looked a little bit at the live stream, but yeah, she said that most of the parts that were used were the hands, feet, and the chest, of course, and that's what the translation was saying too. The overall flow of the composition was easy to see. It's very popular to have a composition that purposely stopped the flow of the sound and gave a sense of unity. So in the sense of unity was very strong. I included it with Septeni Raptures because the structure was well thought out. So what it sounds like is Septeni did their concept better, but both fell short, is what is giving energy-wise. And I think it was just unfortunate how the tie with one of them, Shinichi, oh, there's my little effects, with Shinichi, he tied him in points, but the items were given to Septeni. So it did look like a big win, but when you really think about it, most of them were 1 point difference, and one of them was a straight tie. So I feel, at least most of the judges did award Valuence on the 2 criteria that I said they should have been awarded by, which was the skill and the style. But the perfection, man, I must be looking at it differently, because there was a lot of range issues that Septeni had, where a lot of their angles of their head were off. And it wasn't an individualistic choice, it was a unison section. So there was no reason for their heads to all be different whenever everything else was the same, and some of their range and stability choices were also off. So I wouldn't have given them a 10 for their cleanliness, but also, it was still, both were great. Here's the thing, D.LEAGUE's freaking great. But do I think that we should have had so many 10s from one of our judges for Septeni's set? Personally, I don't think so. But also note too, on the creativity side, I was exposed to more concept that reminded me of like their set reminded me of other sets I've seen before, and maybe to these judges this was something very new for them. So, and that just once again validates the point. Concept is such a subjective thing to use to justify scoring. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more D.LEAGUE, I always post it first on Patreon, but because I'm playing catch up right now, knowing that round 6 just concluded and I'm on round 4 match 1, I still got a long way to go, so you'll be seeing a lot of D.LEAGUE posted on YouTube in the near future. But how I normally operate is whenever I take a look at a round, I'm going to watch the matches, and then I try to watch the judges' commentary, but whenever we catch up, I may watch the rounds first and then do a huge video on just judges' commentary. We'll see. But it's been really fun to take a look at this, and round 4, I was wrong. Round 4, and so for me, hopefully my feedback will get more refined and I'll do better on the scoring. Typically I get most of the matches right, but we're not off to the best start right now. Hopefully I'll get it fixed, but we'll see. Once again, I'm Jess. This has been awesome, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!